Some of you guys may have noticed the number 6 altcoin on CMC, XRP, is pumping. And the reason for that is because of my very educational video that I rarely show, but when I do, XRP pumps up to the moon. Okay, so that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is there were some favorable, or maybe just one, I don't know how many came out today, some favorable court rulings that definitely helped Ripple in their case against Gary Gensler and the SEC. So what are those cases? One came not from today, but from before, where the judge excluded one of the witnesses, the expert witnesses from the SEC. And that guy was the one that basically established the rules on what is a security and what's not. He was brought in to say that XRP is security. Yet the judge excluded that guy. So that means the SEC has really no expert witnesses to define whether XRP is a security or not. That's number 1. That came a couple weeks ago. But today, guess what? Voyager is also helping Ripple's case because the SEC, they may have slipped up. The SEC may have slipped up big time. We know that Voyager went under. Binance.us is trying to buy Voyager, okay? And the SEC protested. They said, no, they can't buy them. And the judge asked why. And then the SEC says, that's because VGX, Voyager's old token, is a security. And we can't let Binance.us buy that security from them. And then judge is like, prove it. Prove that VGX is a security. And the SEC couldn't. They didn't make even an attempt to prove it as a security. So the judge ruled that out and said, no, that's BS. Okay, and now Ripple is using that. Because basically, if the judge presiding over the Voyager bankruptcy case said that VGX is not a security, well, then that means the SEC doesn't really have any guidelines. There's no definitive guidelines on what's a security and what's not. And this is the major thing that people are complaining about. No one knows what Gary is really looking for. He may say it's clearly written. You follow the Howey test and you can figure it out whether or not. You could come in and just register, right? But it's not that simple, and it's different for every case. And all these judges are starting to recognize the BS of the SEC. This is why people are thinking Ripple will win. And I think they will win, and it will be good for not only XRP, but for the entire crypto industry. That is what's happening. Also, what's very suspicious is the fact that the former director of the SEC, he had this interview where he concluded that both Bitcoin and Ethereum are both commodities. Now, that testimony somehow is hidden. And the SEC is trying their hardest not to make that public. It makes you wonder why. What could be said that's so damning that Ripple, or I'm sorry, the SEC doesn't want to be released? So now there are lawyers that are predicting that those documents will be available to the public. Now you figure, why would the SEC want to block this? Maybe because they don't want other crypto projects to utilize it and prove that they're non-securities. Because up until this point, this testimony has been very, very, very hard to get. Ripple had to sue the SEC or countersue to get the testimony, right? So the SEC is trying to exclude this as much as they can, even though as of right now, Ethereum is still a commodity. And Gary refuses to do anything about it. Even though he's hinting that Ethereum is security, he didn't come out and say it. According to SEC, Ethereum is still a commodity, right? And they don't want that damning testimony to come out, which will probably come out soon anyways, right? You figure, how could a ruling by the SEC can't be made publicly? How does that make sense? They're a public office, right? I mean, how could anything be excluded? It's not like it's national security. So all of these things combined is causing a lot of excitement. There are some people that think that Ripple will win this case by the end of this week. I don't know where that rumor came from, but supposedly it's being spread around, and maybe it's true. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, maybe it's next week, maybe it's next month, right? Whatever the case, you got XRP whales, the XRP army, that are stockpiling right now ahead of the ruling, which is why XRP is skyrocketing today. There you go. There you go. So we'll see. We'll see. If they win the case, it'll be absolutely huge, like I said, not only for XRP, but for the entire crypto industry, because we finally have the SEC and Gary nailed. Okay, they can't just go around bullying people and making rules as they go along, right? It doesn't work that way. We need people to defend themselves and win, and Ripple may just do that for the entire crypto industry. Would be absolutely fantastic. And speaking of Gary Gensler, they go after now Sushi Swap. The SEC subpoenas head chief Jared Gray and the DAO itself. And apparently they kind of knew this was happening. They set up a $100,000 defense fund, but apparently it's not enough. So I don't know what's going to happen. Sushi Swap had a lot of mysterious things happen before, some not so good mysterious things. So hopefully they can get through it. But like I said, SEC is just targeting everyone right now. Like it seems like the entire crypto space. I don't know how they have the manpower, or Gary himself is making his presence known. I don't know. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're going after everyone, right? So I am backing Ripple. I do want to see them win, so the SEC could be humbled just a little bit.